Hello and welcome to PeakAlpha Strobe Light Show. This is Season 2, Episode 3, where we shine the light on our clients. Yes, we had paused the series for a while, but here we are, back with another exciting lineup that will be unveiled to you in the next few months. Today we are at the Freedom Farmhouse Project, a place where Chinthana Gopinath, our client, and her friends rehabilitate and rehome beagles who were used in research testing labs across India. She calls them Freagles because they are now running free, and she also finds them homes where they are adopted and loved and cared for. Let's go and meet Chinthana Gopinath and find out what happens at the Freedom Farmhouse Project. Welcome to the show, Chinthana.
Thank you so much.
We've been wanting to have you on the show for a long time, but I'm glad that we now have a dedicated place that you can sit and chat with us.
Yes.
Okay. So you led the first Freagle rescue of dogs that had been in research laboratories, right?
Yes.
In 2016. So
That's
how
right.
did that come about? Tell us.
So there is a governing body called the CPCSEA, which governs the use of dogs and animals in experimentation. So in the year 2015, India came out with a landmark ruling, which makes it mandatory for beagles used in testing to be retired for rehabilitation once they fulfill certain conditions. So which means if they've been in testing for 3 years, they have to be retired to be rehabbed, right? So in 2015 this ruling came about, and so 2016 on we started seeing laboratories having to release all their beagles out into freedom. So in 2016 we saw the largest batch of beagles being released into freedom anywhere in the world, and the laboratory was here in Bengaluru. So we rehomed 242 beagles at the time. And I headed the project as a volunteer for another Bangalore-based organization, but we registered our trust in 2017 because we figured that this was going to be ongoing work, and we had developed the skill set to work with these laboratory dogs specifically. So that is how Freagles of India came to be in the year 2017.
Okay. So you did touch upon a few of the part of the legal framework with regard to the dogs working, being used in the research laboratories.
Right.
So just to give us a context, what is allowed and what is not allowed in terms of making use of dogs in
So
labs?
India does not allow testing for cosmetics and for household products.
Okay.
Again, India was the first country in the world to put a blanket ban on animals being used in testing for these purposes. So right now, dogs in India are being used for testing of pharmaceutical drugs.
Okay.
So we need to understand that it's not illegal to do so. Secondly, it's mandatory to do so. So every time we have a batch of beagles come out into freedom, the general public gets up in arms saying, down with the laboratories, but they're doing what they have to do in order for drugs to be passed for clinical trials in human beings. Is it an effective model? No, it isn't. But it is what it is, and until there is a huge change in the law of animal testing for pharmaceutical drugs, this will continue.
Which is why I think we should be deeply appreciative of people like you who are doing
and also deeply appreciative that India is the only country in the world where these dogs have the right to be released. Anywhere else in the world they're euthanized, and in countries like China they're sold to the meat market, and so we are the only country that has this law in place where they have to be rehabbed into homes. So I think that is what we need to be really grateful.
So Chinthana, how did you get interested in dogs and taking care of them in the way that you do now?
I think there's a saying which says sometimes a dog walks into your life and changes everything, and that's exactly what happened to me. So while I've grown up in a home that always had dogs, in the year 2013 I ended up adopting a beagle who was released from a research testing laboratory, and back then there was no knowledge on what it entails to have these dogs home. I just happened to go in my voluntary capacity to the office where she was kept. I went to take pictures to put it up on Facebook at the time to help her look for a home. And she was this really scared creature who would kind of crawl on the ground if anybody even approached her. So I sat down to make her comfortable, and for some reason she, I guess, mustered every ounce of courage she could gather and kind of crawled into my lap and just sat. And I think that just sealed the deal. And even though I had no intention of adopting at the time, there was just no way I was going to leave
Walk
her
away
behind.
from there, yeah.
So number 8699640.
Is what started it all off.
Yeah. And I'm still
You're
like
tearing up.
I'm a bumbling mess when it comes to her. And she came home to be called Sasha, and she just changed my life, and I think changed the life of hundreds of dogs since then. So I started volunteering with local NGOs, helping dogs get adopted, helping people see the beauty and the merit in adopting a rescue dog. So that is how my journey started in this field. But did I know back then that this is the level and extent of my involvement with these dogs? I didn't. But I wouldn't change it for anything.
Of course. Yeah. So how many Freagles are freed every year, and how many do you get at to the Freedom
So
Farmhouse?
there's no clear numbers available to us in terms of how many dogs are still out there in testing. But since we have started doing this work since 2016 up until now, we have rehabbed more than 500 such dogs from labs across the country. So we've worked with the laboratories in Pune, in Gujarat, in Hyderabad. Bangalore no longer has any dogs in testing. So this year we've already got 9 dogs. That's the first batch that's come to us. During the pandemic for 2 years we had none, because I think the rules were bent a little because of wanting to test vaccines and drugs perhaps. So those 2 years we had absolutely no dogs come to us.
So tell me a little bit about the Freedom Farmhouse Project. That's Milo, by the way, and you will see him coming into the frame often.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the Freedom Farmhouse Project and what happens here.
So even though Freagles of India has been a registered trust since 2017, we never had a place of our own, because our work was sporadic. You know, we would get a batch of beagles, the rehab period would be about 2 to 3 months, and then they would get adopted and our work ended and we would get back to our normal lives much like anybody else. And therefore we used primarily boarding facilities where we would place a chunk of dogs at a subsidized rate. We would do the rehab and send them home. But in the last year or so, apart from just the laboratory retired beagles, we've been getting a lot of beagles that need our help. Who are these beagles? The pandemic saw a lot of people sitting at home during the lockdown, and they thought it was a great time to be buying puppies. So there were a lot of dogs that breeders started putting into breeding to produce these puppies, right? Now that the lockdown is over, people are returning to normal lives. Kids are going back to college, work from home is over, we are relocating abroad, name the reason. And therefore we have a lot of young adults that are coming in who are clearly what we call the lockdown puppies. So they're now on average about 1.5 to under 3 years of age. That's one chunk of the kind of beagles that we're getting. The other chunk is breeders are now running out of business because the demand for puppies has dropped for the same reason that people are getting back to normal lives. So these breeders are contacting veterinarians to dump their entire lot of 3 to 4 to 6 beagles. So we get beagles like that, or sometimes they just dump them on the streets. So these dogs needed a place to go to. So we ended up growing from being an organization that worked only with laboratory retired beagles to becoming a breed specific organization that is taking in beagles from various backgrounds. So it became imperative for us to now have a place of our own. And additionally, we have some dogs who have come to us with genetic issues. Their chances of adoption are slim. They might stay with us for the rest of their lives. So we wanted so the Freedom Farmhouse is essentially a halfway home for some dogs where they stay with us before they go to their adoptive homes. But in a lot of cases, it could be the final home for a lot of dogs who may not get adopted.
Yeah. So there are two things that you do, right? One is rehabilitation and rehoming.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about the rehabilitation of these dogs that come to you?
So the laboratory retired beagles, the rehabilitation for them has to be very, very slow and considered. They have lived in isolation. They've lived in a very sterile environment. They have not seen any element of the natural world. They don't want contamination of their test subjects. So these test subjects are not going to come in contact with the earth, with the soil, because they don't want them to be contracting any infections, right? So when they first step out into freedom, people might think they might be excited. On the contrary, they're very overwhelmed, because everything that hits their senses, anything that they're smelling, seeing, hearing, everything is new and alien to them. So the first few weeks, the rehab actually involves just leaving them alone to kind of absorb all of these things. There's no touch forced upon them. For the first time in their life, I think they have autonomy of choice over their own bodies, you know. So only when they initiate touch, we respect that, and when they've had enough and they back off, we respect that. So then their brains start to kind of open up, the curiosity starts to open up. So then we start introducing them to various things. So initially when they come, they do not recognize anything apart from packaged food as edible. So you know how excited dogs will get when you're eating like a pizza or having an ice cream. If I sit with a batch of newly retired beagles, they won't even know that that's something that they should beg for or drool for or eat, you know. So we slowly introduce them to fresh food, and once they become food motivated, food can be used as you know, reward to learn how to walk on a leash, how to you know, approach new people and things like that. So so that is for the laboratory beagles. The rehab is pretty intense. Yeah.
Okay. And what about the protocols for adoption of rehoming?
So our process is very stringent, and I think we are the first organization that brought about you know, Google forms and filling up you know, an application form and collecting people's data before we even consider them for the next step. For example, if 100 people fill in an application, probably about 10% of those will even get a call to go to the next step. Then there is a very intensive counseling and screening phone call that happens, where we ask all the questions to the person to make them think about whether they're really ready to have the commitment of having a dog in their home for the next 10 to 12 to 14 years. Then they are invited to come here to meet the dogs that we feel are suited to their lifestyle. So while I may think that, hey, I want a puppy, but I might be working 6 to 7 hours in a day, which means a puppy is not conducive to my lifestyle, which means an adult dog may be better suited to my home. So we assess the lifestyle and personality of the prospective adopters and match them with the personality of the dogs that are up for adoption, and they get to meet those dogs when they come here. And we do house check by way of them needing to send us videos of their home, so we know what is the kind of space available for the dogs that they might be adopting. Beagles in general are very curious dogs. If the gate is open, they are going to get out. And the laboratory retired beagles are at very high flight risk initially, because as much as we prepare them here, when they go home, again that's a whole load of external stimulation, the television sound, there's cooker, there's people walking in and out, you know, they're not used to it. So dogs, when they feel threatened, do tend to kind of bolt out. So the security measures are very strictly implemented for these dogs. We run them through you know, what diet needs to be, we give them a diet chart that they need to follow, what all they need to buy before they take the dog home. And at any step of this process, there is no guarantee that you will get to adopt a dog. Neither is there a guarantee that you have to adopt a dog. Then there is a lot of post-adoption hand-holding that happens as well. You know, so when they take the dog home, they could run into roadblocks with behavior, with temperament, with whatever else, with health or whatever. So we are there to handhold till the end of the dog's life. Literally. Yeah. So end of life decisions, you know, euthanize, not euthanize, where to bury, should we cremate, we're there all the way up until the end. And despite all of this, there is room for humans to be humans. So there are families that adopt and a few years later or a few months later, you know, change their mind about wanting to keep the dog, then the dog has to come back to us. They can't just randomly pump them off to somebody that they know.
Yeah. So who's sitting on my lap now?
So this is Sonu. Sonu is one of the dogs that has a genetic condition called cerebellar hypoplasia, where a part of the cerebellum, the part of the brain that controls balance and motor coordination is underdeveloped.
Okay.
So Sonu was living in a slum in Kyarpuram, and a bunch of students had gone there for some voluntary work. They saw that she walked funny, and they had seen videos of 2 other dogs with the same condition on our Insta page, and they reached out to us. So then they negotiated with the family to kind of get her out, because they were not capable of taking care of her.
Yeah.
She's a young girl. She's about a year and a half. And I hope that somebody can see beyond this condition that she has and adopt her, but if not, she has a home with us.
So that's why you can see her flopping around.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very sweet thing. But you also have, you've named all of them. Like you have even have a dog with who's blind, like Lalita, who's like scoping out the area.
Lalita is one of our breeder dogs. So as in she was found by the side of the road and very clearly used in breeding. So with the female dogs, it's very easy to tell their teats are hanging from having fed multiple litters of puppies. So Lalita is one of the breeder dogs that somebody had found by the side of the road and got in touch with us. So the first day when she was here, she was just falling over everything because she can't see too well at all. But now she's mapped the entire area, and she's currently in that pot, climbed into a pot eating grass, and she's full of life and full of beans. That girl. Yeah.
So I know a lot of people love dogs. They want to bring home pets, and a lot of them are considering adoption.
Yes.
And for such people, what would your advice be?
Unfortunately, people research the brand of phone they want to buy more than the breed of dog they want to get home. So when families are coming into the process of adoption, we'd like for them to come with an open mind and not be fixated on a breed of dog, because like beagles were bred to be hunting dogs, Labradors were bred to be retrieving dogs, German Shepherds were bred to herd the sheep. So each dog was bred to fulfill a certain purpose in man's life. Today, we just want a companion animal, and that companion animal can wear the coat of any breed of dog.
So Chinthana, tell us, is this a self-funded space? Do you take donations?
So we, like any other not-for-profit trust, depend on public donations to, even to set this place up and even to run the place. So when we started building the Freedom Farmhouse, before I got into something so large, because I have no history in animal welfare. So the first order of business for me was to find somebody who would undertake paying my rent month on month, because that's one of the largest overheads. So once that got done is when we took the plunge to kind of set this place up. Arun Balan from Balan and Nambisan Architects, he and his team designed the space for us for free. Ram Ceramics gave us all the tiles and sanitary fittings we needed. Saranya, one of my adopters, was an architect from Chennai. She sent us all the lights and fans that we needed. We've used earth blocks to build this place. If you've noticed, there's no plastering done anywhere. So earth blocks help to maintain an ambient temperature inside the rooms. So we've used earth blocks and puff sheets. So inside the room, it's always cool in the summers, and it will be a little warm and toasty in the winters. So the guy who gave us the bricks gave us discounts. So I think once the goal was set, like a lot of people came together to make this happen. And setting up honestly was the easiest part, because running the place, keeping 60 dogs healthy, keeping them well fed, taking care of vet bills, so there are recurring costs that come, caretaker salaries, so there are costs that come in every month. And so we have various ways in which people can donate. So I have the Feed the Dogs for a Day program. So for 4,000 rupees, you can choose a day, if it's your birthday, your anniversary, or in memory of a dog that passed away. You can sponsor a meal for a day at the farmhouse for all the dogs. Then we have the concept of passive adoption. So that we have some long-termers, like Jelly Bean here is a breeder dog. She's about 8 to 9 years old. So she's been with us for a while. She will continue to remain with us for a while. So I have people who passively adopt these dogs, which means they pay a certain sum of money per month to take care of their fixed cost of rent, salary, vaccination, regular blood tests, etc. So I have passive adopters who will pay for their dog for a period of 6 months to a year. So we have money coming in that way. We are publicly funded. having said that, you know, PeakAlpha is my investment advisor, and you know, I tell my consultant that from my savings, I have set aside a sum of money in case of donor fatigue. It can happen. You know, maybe there's a recession. Maybe suddenly someday tomorrow everybody wakes up and says, we will not give Freagles of India money this month. We will give it to someone else or not give it to anybody at all.
Yeah.
The level of care over here should not drop. So I have set aside funds to run operations for a couple of months, you know, in case there is donor fatigue. Hopefully I don't have to touch it, but it's there. So yeah, and I mean, there is a lot of out of pocket that we have obviously put in, you know. We have to put our money where our mouths are if we want people to believe in what we are doing. We also have to obviously put in money, but we are largely publicly funded.
And what about people who would like to come and volunteer? Do you have summer interns? Do you have weekend volunteers?
People think that volunteering means coming here on the weekends, petting the dogs, playing with the dogs, and maybe take a few selfies for social media. But the volunteering system at the Freedom Farmhouse is very task-based. So, I mean, initially, for example, we compost our poop, by the way. So 50, 60 dogs pooping is a lot of poop generated. So we compost the poop. So we had a team of volunteers who came in, who are experts in solid waste management, to set that up, and who kind of come and help us, you know, maintain and manage that. I have volunteers who manage my medical inventory. So they come in, you know, once or twice a month, check stocks of medicine, and also check which all dogs are due for their vaccination, sterilization, blood test, blah, 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 and give me like a screenshot saying, hey, this is what you need to make sure is done. Then we have volunteers that manage sending out donor receipts. So it's a very, very dedicated, operational, task-based volunteering system. A lot of admin work. And do they get to spend time with the dogs? Yes, that's a perk of doing some actual work over here. But we've kept our caretaker to dog ratio fairly higher compared to other shelters, because I don't want to depend on a volunteer being free on a weekend for my dogs to be bathed. You know, so the dogs get everything they need in terms of nutrition, medical care, human contact, socialization. They get it from the boys who live here, and of course, you know, we who come here routinely. So they get their needs are met on that level. Yeah.
So my last question, and a question that I ask all our guests, is how did you hear of PeakAlpha, and how have we changed your life for the better?
To be honest, I'm 43 now. I think I started putting money away and thinking seriously about my retirement and savings and all of that maybe three odd years ago. I learnt about it from a friend of mine who pushed me, saying, you know, as a woman, you've got to be more serious about your money, and that is how I started. And the initial phase was damn painful, which is, you know, list out your expenses for the month, and I'm like, oh God, you know, like how much am I spending and things. So I don't spend too much on, you know, my clothes and bags and stuff, but I have 5 dogs at home now. I had 7 when I started, so they, you know, obviously consume a huge chunk, and I'm like, oh, okay, I have expensive for children. So so I think it has helped me structure my finances a lot better, and it makes me feel damn empowered to know that there is a nest sitting for me, and I run my own business. Freagles of India doesn't pay me. I run my own business, so even if there is a lean period in my business, I know that my lifestyle doesn't have to suffer. I was able to take my first holiday in Europe last year, which I paid for because I had money set aside in my holiday fund. So it makes me feel extremely powerful to know that I have control over my finances, I have control over my money, and that I can retire, you know, stop working when I want to, and still comfortably have the lifestyle that I have created for myself. I mean, I never thought that, you know, everybody thinks a holiday is so expensive, will I be able to take one? But honestly, if you plan for it, you don't feel the pinch at all. And what I do like about the investors, my investor at PeakAlpha, my consultant, is my goals of, you know, setting funds aside for my rescues, my goals of making sure my dogs at home have, you know, their needs met. We have a home in Bandipur where we put in a lot of money in reforestation efforts. So my goals for wanting money to plant trees, all of these things are not kind of like looked upon strangely. You know, it's all
Yeah.
accepted as a part of my
Yeah.
my personality and my needs, and everything is planned accordingly. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, somebody wants to buy a pair of lovely shoes. Somebody wants a forest. Dogs, and yes, we say yes to all of
yes
that.
to all of that. Yeah.
But thank you, and really deep respects for what you do, Chinthana.
Thank you. Thank
and I'm
you.
so glad to have come here and
Pleasure.
seen you at work.
Yeah.
And I hope you change lots of lives with your kindness.
I hope so.
And thank you for being on our
Thank you.
show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We've had an enjoyable morning at the Freedom Farmhouse, and if you want to volunteer here, you know what to do. You heard Chinthana. We're leaving you with some important announcements. PeakAlpha has a new website. We'd like you to go and check it out for all the announcements that we make often. And also you can find all our old episodes of the Strobe Light series on www.peakalpha.com. From now, it is goodbye from Putti and me from the Freedom Farmhouse. See you soon.